Up, Nancy. Okay, Bannock County Commissioners are back in session, and we're here with the Forest Service. Let's just go around and introduce yourselves, and we'll introduce ourselves after that, and everybody will be on the record. How's that?
Jose Contreras. I am AFMO Fuels for the Portland Zone here in Pocatello.
Wes Jones, Bannock County, Emergency Management.
Dan Bartle, Portland Zone, Fire Management Officer.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Mike Johnston. I'm the Forest Fire Management Officer for the Caribou Turkey.
Howdy, I'm Blaine Newman, BLM Field Manager here in Pocatello.
Good afternoon, Kim Obley, District Ranger, West Side Ranger District, Curlew National Grassland of the Caribou Targhee National Forest.
Kyle Brunster, Bannock County, Public Works Director.
Buddy Romero, Public Works Assistant Director.
Kathy Dalkey, Noxious Weed Department.
Nancy Allen, Deputy Clerk.
Jeff Huff, Commissioner.
Ernie Moser, Commissioner.
John Crowder, Commissioner.
All right, well, go ahead and
All right, I'll kick us off, and then I'll send you to the other folks as well. But so the purpose is the annual wildfire coordination meeting with the commissioners, kind of that really high level 30,000 foot briefing versus the tactical boots on the ground stuff that happens with the firefighters and the fire districts and such. But this is just kind of that coordination meeting. It's also an opportunity to refresh our working relationship prior to the wildfire season, just kind of remind everybody who's who in the zoo and that sort of thing, and then answer any questions you guys have. So I usually start with the chief of the Forest Service's letter of intent for wildland fires for 2024. And I'll just touch on a couple of points here. It says all signs point to a very active 2024 fire year. And that may or may not touch Southeast Idaho, but it could pull resources from Southeast Idaho potentially, depending on where that activity is. And he specifically says, I expect all leaders to put our people first as they put themselves in harm's way to protect communities and landscapes. And when I read our people, I definitely include the city of Income and everybody in our community is our people. So before we put people in harm's way, we're going to make some good risk-informed decisions. There is a good risk management process within the wildland fire community that we go through. And at the end of the day, we need to, before we put people in harm's way, we need to make sure that the values that are at risk are critical, and we collaboratively talk about those together. So that's how we would do business if we were in an extended incident. We'd come together and figure out where are we going to put our people and how are we going to work together, and that happens pretty quick. So really, that's what the chief's letter focuses on, and it goes into some other things as well, but that's kind of the main thing. But I'd also like to have the opportunity to advertise, and I've brought this up before, but we are kicking off what's called the Lower Portneuf Cooperative Vegetation Management Project. Our district is. And that is a approximately 30,000 acre boundary with various treatments within that in this front country of Pocatello, and where we're going to try to complement the other fuels reduction projects that are going on within the county and the city. And so we have some boundaries and we have some treatments starting to be planned. And probably in the next couple of months, we'll send out a letter saying, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're proposing, and we need some feedback from folks. And so the ask here is, when you get that letter, let us know what you think, good, bad, or ugly, so we can plan that project where that makes sense from Bannock County's perspective. But it'll be a much more visible project than we've been doing in the past few years since I've been here. But it's to treat those edges where there's that wildland urban interface, the WUI interface, people's backyards. We're going to try to reduce that wildland fire threat if it were to happen, and do that cooperatively with all of the entities in the area. So with that, I think I'm going to pass it on to Blaine for the BLM.
Okay. Well, thanks for meeting with us today. Coming up on fire season, I think it's just always good to kind of give updates on some moving parts we have with BLM. I think for the past few years, Joel Goswiller, our fire management officer, has come down. He retired over the winter, so we're looking to fill that. We have Zach, I always mess his name, Briette, is our AFMO that's acting for now, and we hope to fill that position soon. But and also locally, if we have something that goes on here, you know, I'm the local field manager, more of a good point of contact for information. That's usually a step back from the operations side. You know, if we have something in the urban interface, just want to open up an invitation to give me a call, and if I can't have answers for you, I can get them. If something goes on in the urban interface, that'll be a top priority for me, is communicating with all the local partners. So, yeah, we've got a few more. Two assistant field managers coming on. One was Bryce Anderson, who's been with BLM for quite a while. He's going to come on in June, and then we have Chris Johansson coming from Arizona in July, and they'll both be kind of backup agency administrators this year. They won't be fully trained, but we'll probably have them out as well. Long story short is, if we have something in town and you need a contact for BLM, I can leave you cards.
Okay, appreciate that.
Be your primary point of contact. And, you know, as far as BLM's letter of intent, we're very similar to what the Forest Service has put out, so as far as risks and priorities. Anyway, that's about all I got.
Okay.
Good to see you guys.
All right, I'm going to hit on a few things, kind of just high-level overview of like preparedness activities, staffing, and outlook, fire outlook for the season. Starting with staffing for the forest, we're staffed with 12 engines across the forest. 3/4 of a 20-person crew, 15 out of 20 positions up in Island Park. We're actually going to be combining our 10-person fire module with that 20-person crew up in Island Park. Fire modules out of the Montpelier area, and so we have a 20-person crew available here in East Idaho. Of course, BLM also has the hotshot crew that's available nationally, but we use them locally as well here in East Idaho. What else do we have? Overhead positions, all key positions are filled. Dan, I don't think you've had any major change. He has 3 engines here locally. And then we also have 2 Type 3 helicopters. Both of those will be coming on June 20th approximately. One in Pocatello, one in Swan Valley. The tanker base out at the airport, I believe, will be up and going within about the 1st or 2nd week of June. Just in time for the cheatgrass around here probably start curing out and potentially getting ready for fires. Last week we had a regional preparedness review, which went really well for the forest. Kim actually hosted all of us here on the district up Mink Creek, and we also had one of your engines from Income Fire District out there helping us. We also had engines from BIA, BLM, Madison County, out of Rexburg as well. It was good to showcase the interagency cooperation here in East Idaho, which is certainly one of our priorities, and that exercise went really well. In the future, I think through some correspondence back and forth with Wes, I think we'd like to do maybe a little more of a robust exercise next year. That kind of exercises some of our agreements and maybe touches on how a fire management assistance grant would work, some of that kind of stuff, work with the different utilities and entities, sheriff's office that would be involved. So just kind of planting a seed. That's something we're looking forward to next year. Agreements-wise, we're in the process of getting signatures with all the individual fire districts here in East Idaho. So it'll be kind of a continuation of the relationship we've had with each fire department to provide mutual aid back and forth here in East Idaho. There's been some changes with the East Idaho Fire Chiefs Association and kind of expanding the mutual aid relationship they have for chief to chief, and that's something the Forest Service and the BLM have been supporting and advocating for. It's a pretty robust working group to, further interagency cooperation here in East Idaho. We got pretty complex jurisdictions across East Idaho, with all the different fire districts, and that's certainly why that's one of my priorities, and certainly all my peers here in East Idaho are all on board with furthering those interagency relationships. So that's kind of a focus for me when it comes to preparedness activities. But we got all of our folks on board now. They're doing their final training, and we'll be, actually we already are starting to ship some people out on fires nationally, but by the 1st of June we'll be fully whole and ready for whatever the fire season brings us, which is the last thing I was going to touch on. And in all honesty, I'll tell you how it is in October, because that's how it works out, because I don't have a good crystal ball, but all signs are certainly pointing towards active fire season here in East Idaho and within the Great Basin, which is our geographic area, which covers southern Idaho, Nevada, and Utah largely. The heavy winters we've had the last 2 years produce more grass. Grass cures out quick, and that's pretty much pretty conducive to supporting wildfire growth in the lower elevations. So that coupled with they're predicting a light monsoon season, so we won't get that, potentially won't get that continued precip throughout the summer. That would maybe keep things at bay. I'm afraid, and we're going to help you out, Blaine, however we can, of course, but I think the BLM is probably going to be a little more busy than the forest. But if you look at the National Weather Service outlooks, starting next week, we're still supposed to go into a warm, dry trend, and that warm, dry trend, if you look at 6 to 10, 8 to 14 day, 1 month and 3 month outlooks, they're all showing warm and dry for this area. So if that plays out, the forest will cure out at some point and come into play as far as potential large fire growth. But that wouldn't be until late August, September would be my guess at this point. Just based on this continued precip we've been getting all spring, the forest is pretty much out of play for large fire for at least the foreseeable future. I'm certainly more worried about the like I said, the grass and the BLM partners here in Utah and Idaho and Nevada. They have a lot of grass as well. Nationally, the Southwest is still in a bit of drought, and Montana, northern Idaho is in drought. So that's where you're probably going to see more of the large wildfires. And as we were talking before the meeting started, Commissioner Canada's already starting to see large fires. So that's kind of a quick overview. I think at this point, are we opening it up for questions, or who else is?
I think so.
Yeah.
You bet.
I know this guy has
I got a list
on his line.
I got a list. What's the attitude, or has there been a change in attitude towards controlled burns in certain areas? So if we have a natural start, are we willing to let it burn a little bit now, or are we still trying to get it out quick?
BLM, we're still full suppression.
Full suppression? Okay.
Okay.
Forest
Go
Service?
ahead. Yeah, no, go ahead. Okay.
Well, there was that on prescribed burn side of things, snafu in New Mexico, which kind of put us in a pause a year and a half ago. But
Right.
we're under the chief's wildfire crisis strategy, we're promoting every tool we have, including prescribed fire, and as much as we can get in place in the right places where we're going to mitigate bad outcomes. And when I say bad outcomes, it's the values at risk that we want to protect, and largely those are usually on private lands, utility corridors, that kind of thing, are the values that really drive our strategies and where we want to put our fuels treatments on the landscape. As far as natural fire goes, that's certainly a tool, and the chief actually mentioned it in his letter this year that he's encouraging us to use that tool where appropriate. And with wildfire, we have full spectrum of strategies on those to where we're always going to have protection objectives. We're going to keep that fire to the best of our ability from impacting values, but we can allow it to burn. Down in your neck of the woods, it's the more difficult part of the forest because you just don't have the decision space, the landscape to maybe manage fire like we would up outside of Driggs in the Jedediah Wilderness or some other areas. But we're going to use that tool where we can, where it makes sense. Time of year comes into play, resource availability, all of that. Later in the year, we could probably get away with a little more down here and herd it into some natural barriers up in some of these mountain ranges around here.
Okay, and then the follow-up to that is in the forest specifically, where's the attitude or where's the direction towards the Good Neighbor Authority where we can help manage and maybe clear out some of the forest that needs to be cleared out? Because I know you guys are limited resources. So if we can identify projects like the fuels reduction and things like that we're doing, is the attitude shifting to allow, or can it shift more to allow us to participate in that and have more local control? Or what's kind of the attitude or collaboration? Not control, collaboration is the better word.
Yeah, I would say the attitude is very positive, supportive of developing those type of partnerships. And I see a lot of the funding from the Forest Service going, through those type of partnerships to allow that type of work and relationship to occur on the landscape. We executed a Good Neighbor Authority agreement with IDL 2 or 3 years ago, and the region's really supporting us with that relationship, giving us some funding to put to IDL, and then they put it towards local contractors to get. Basically, we're using that mainly to do some road work, so we have better ingress, egress for getting fire equipment in and out of fires, and also clearing the roadsides a little bit, expanding the fuel break so roads are more effective for stopping fires, and that works focused more on the north end of the forest right now, but it certainly can be expanded to cover country elsewhere too.
Okay, and so my follow-up with Kyle and Buddy on that. Do we have roads that kind of go into the forest that maybe we could look towards creating some agreements like this that would allow us to help manage things like that? Off the top of my head, I can't really think of any, but I'm just...
We have very limited, but any that we do have, we're maintaining. So I mean, there isn't stuff that I know of necessarily that we have to like widen or open up more for them.
Well, it's more about clearing the forest back a little bit, helping them clear that forest back so that we have a little bit better of a fire break and some...
All in Forest Service.
Yeah, in some of the areas we have. And again, like I said, I can't think of anything in our county per se, but I'm just, don't know if I'm missing something like up over Buckskin or somewhere like that we have some roads that we're responsible to maintain that maybe we can partner with to help create breaks or something.
And that was the method you just used up at Island Park? Is that what the widening or the?
That was more IDOT doing that work, but certainly in cooperation with the forest. The work with IDL's more the back roads off the highways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that Idaho Power's doing everything they can. I mean, I was up there a couple of weeks ago in Boise and changing their fuses and I heard that they was gonna put some new lines. Is it up over here, or where was it? Mink Creek?
They are doing some work, clearing and whatnot.
And these are
Yeah.
coated lines so that they won't spark and stuff, and
Yeah.
they hit each other, and I mean, so they're going to quite an expense of
Yeah.
trying to, so they don't get sued for a forest fire coming
PG&E
through
in
there.
California, there was
Yeah.
a couple really bad outcomes there.
They had some great concerns.
They're looking at some upgrades up Trail Creek right now on existing lines with concerns about age and structures.
They're also looking at putting up detection cameras too.
Yeah. And then they have a new program they're coming out with, Idaho, where if they feel like it's so hot and stuff that they'll just shut power down for periods of time.
That's public safety power shutoff,
Yeah,
and they've that's been in place for quite a few years. But what they do with that is based upon the fuel loads, the temperatures, and more specifically the high winds. And so if there is a potential for impacts from their operations or their facilities, they'll make the determination to shut the power off to a distinct community. And so when they do that, it's primarily based upon a liability aspect, and it minimizes the impacts to the fire potentials, and it also impacts the community at large. So that's where a lot of the media activities need to go out and make sure the community is aware and they're informed. So when those things do occur, we'll have time to let the community at large know.
And the way they was talking, I mean, it may have been around for a while, but they say it could be utilized here in the near future more than in the past.
Yeah, and we've had 2 potential occurrences, one with Rocky Mountain Power and one with Idaho Power last year, and it was all contingent upon the wind speeds, and they died down at the last minute. So
Yeah, I hadn't heard about that till a couple of weeks ago, so that was interesting. Anything else on fires?
No, I'd just like to publicly say I think we have a great relationship with you guys. I know Kim and I meet on a pretty regular basis, and I go to meetings and hear about the adversarial relationship that's in other areas. And it's not horrible, don't get me wrong that way, but I feel like we have a great relationship. And so I just want to publicly say thank you and appreciate what we've been able to do so far together and the relationship that we have.
So let me squirrel here for a minute, and that's why I invited these guys over. We're pretty yellow in Bannock County, Dyerswold. And so Kathy, she runs a great program, but there's got to be some, I don't know, how do we get cooperation with the Forest Service, BLM, Bannock County, utilities, and the railroad? I was at a meeting this morning where commissioners from all the surrounding counties come, and that was the first question I got hit with. And then the second one was that, is Dyerswold our county flower? So just a conversation. How do we help each other? Not, that's talk about the weeds and everything else. I mean, we're getting overrun right now.
And we didn't plan this, but that's a good lead into our good neighbor authority type of thing. Those are the type of things that I was referring to with that.
Well, my understanding is that I think I've had tempted to have some agreements with Bannock County, with the surrounding counties. And I'm not really sure what the status is with Bannock weeds specifically, but there's the weed management areas, was it cooperative, CWMA's cooperative weeds management areas. And I know Franklin and Caribou are part of an agreement with the Forest Service. Is Bannock part of that as well? Okay. So Franklin requested that we use the money that was allocated to Franklin County to aerially spray Dyerswold, and it's going to happen Tuesday likely with a helicopter. They're contracting, we're contributing to it. They're spraying primarily private land, but they're buffering out on Forest Service, and so we got it all set up to where it's all authorized and everything. And so it's kind of a test to see how well that works. And so that's a tool that we're trying to be creative with our forest analysis that was finished, a decision to be able to spray aerially. So I think we have some tools and we're starting to explore them and expand. And Franklin has just been proactive in reaching out saying, we have a helicopter, we'll get it contracted as long as we can authorize to spray on the borders of private. We're making it work. So we're definitely in our district willing to figure some of that stuff out, and we'll be creative in doing it.
Yeah, we've had similar agreements with multiple counties. We've done some aerial spraying. Seems like this year a little more of our money's coming little weeds through some of our restoration projects and fuel treatments, post-fire treatments. So I know 2.5 Mile, we've got some contracts up there following that fire from 2 years ago, and sure where we're at with the helicopter spraying this year. I've done it the last few. I assume it's happening this year. I can follow up on that.
Kathy, any comments? Any questions, concerns, or?
No, I will get with, our president. The agreement that I believe, and I don't know because I haven't spoke to him lately, but I think that the agreement that we have with them expires this year.
Okay.
And we have, for the last 3 years as Bannock County, we have went up and sprayed up in the area on our end of that. So,
I just had a meeting with these three Monday, Tuesday, sometime this week. Tuesday. And so that's why I invited them here. I knew you all was coming, and I think that that's a pretty serious conversation we need to have in our area, and a working agreement to try to do something. It does get a little frustrating that, the state puts out noxious weed list, and they're some of the biggest offenders.
Yeah, and we're just hoping, we've enjoyed working with you guys, that we have great relationships and stuff, and I know we did kind of with BLM before,
yes.
with the helicopter and stuff, and so we were trying to get that set up to, like, if there's some funding through that association or something like that, if there's some way that we can work together with either some of this grant money, whatever it takes, just work together to try to
Absolutely.
slow it down.
Yeah.
We're interested in that too. So.
Yep.
Well, and then the tough part is, a lot of it is on private grounds. And then, so then I have contractors out here that says, well, you guys can't go on private ground because you're interfering with our business. And, so if we get hit from all angles, everybody wants a piece of the pie, and it doesn't seem like the pie is very big. So.
Right.
We can include some of those into the county wildfire preparedness plan, because with that CWPP, that's a roadmap to move into the future. Would actually captures where we're at, where we've been, where we're at now, and then our forecast for the future in those areas that need treatment or areas of consideration. And right now, we have a great working relationship with IDL, the BLM, and the Forest Service, and the fire departments here within Bannock County to put that plan together. And it's coming together to be a very, very beneficial project, because we identify collectively what our areas of concern are, and we track the current projects that are underway, where we need to go, and where they're laid out in 3 to 5 year type increments. We can put those things in there. And there was a couple of projects that we identified for access roads and other things most recently. And if we're wanting to take a look at spraying of noxious weeds and moving forward on that, I don't know if we can use hazard mitigation plans for that, because it still promotes mitigation activities. But I think I need to look into that, and we can see, because with those mitigation grants, it's 25-75% match, where the government pays 75% and the county would pay 25%. But if we have those areas of concern, and if we identify them and put that in there, because the CWPP is supposed to be our driving document to move forward on, and if we have them incorporated, I think that might be the way to get some of this stuff done.
Great.
That'd be great.
And then Jeff's been working hard too, and he's held a lot of meetings with all the different fire districts and stuff. I think our communication within the county is getting better, and doesn't hurt that we have the same fire chief in a couple of areas and things also. So we're grateful for that. But like Jeff says, we're grateful for the relationship and the opportunities to work together. I mean, with the Forest Service, you worked on the road, that was last year, and
Yeah, that was
stuff.
a great project, turned out really good.
And big thank you for additional snow plowing this year. Helps us get those roads open quicker.
Yeah, like they've been amazing to work with. I don't know everybody here, but I've worked with Wayne and Kim quite a bit and had a good
It's been
relationship.
awesome.
You've been quiet. Anything to say?
I have nothing to say.
Anybody else?
I do have two questions.
Okay.
So just as far as information to you guys, last year I think we were talking Wes would be the primary contact for any fire information to go through him to reach you guys if something's going on. Is that still?
Yep.
Go through Wes. Emergency declaration has to come through us.
Okay. Yep, and
Wes will be our contact, but he'd be the first resource, yes.
and yeah, I'd be interested too. I've changed positions pretty recently. If Jeff, you're still the contact for BLM Forest Service, be very interested in just giving an update, what's going on, what your concerns are, what he's got going.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'd like to do that.
I'll have Christie reach out and set up a meeting. We can just get together,
Sounds great.
touch base.
Anybody else? Anything?
So I do have some maps to leave with you as just the boundary just to be thinking about for the lower Portneuf project. So you can just kind of see if we have a few copies if you're interested in leaving them with you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just some maps to just kind of see that boundary so you can
Yeah.
visualize it when it comes out.
Do you have that electronically?
We do, right?
Yeah, we can get it electronically.
Is that how you'd like it, Nancy? Or?
Okay. All right.
So,
You get what's been, I can get you.
yeah.
Something you guys.
Everything that's on this has to be public record, and if you can get it electronically, it makes it a whole lot.
So there's two maps there, and yep, and it just gives you the broad boundary, and then there'll be various treatments within that broad boundary. But those are not on that map yet. But just to give you a big idea, the hatched piece is a little bit hard to see, but on that one map, the hatched piece is where there's going to be treatments within there, and the treatments would be mechanical or prescribed fire with a little bit of harvest where it's possible.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
Is there anything else you guys want to talk about the Portneuf project? Anything I'm missing or I'm forgetting?
And that's just, we're just really looking for the cooperation with the county, just because it really helps us throughout it. And if we can tie some of our future projects into the projects that you guys are currently doing, it really helps through the process. We're expecting this will probably go to the EA, and so it's going to take a little bit to get it through, but we're feeling pretty confident about it. So.
Okay. Anybody else? Well, thank